Hey everyone, Ariel Adams here with aBlogtoWatch. Please subscribe to our videos on YouTube and like this video if you find it useful. This is a review of the Sinn EZM 10. Sinn is one of my favorite German watch brands, and don't get my hands on them that often, but I do have a couple of them, and this is probably one of my favorites from the last couple of years. I believe this came out in 2013, and this watch just sort of sums up a lot of the things I like from this brand. And years ago, I remember Sinn came out with a watch called the 757, I believe, that I think we call the Superman watch. Sinn is a company, and one of the ways I describe it is, imagine that a company was stuck kind of in a time warp where quartz watches never existed, and they still had to sort of go forth creating the best mechanical tool watches possible. That's what Sinn would be. It's very much a tool watch. It's extremely German. It's very legible. It's very cool. But there's a hint of style to it, which makes it like not as boring as some of the other German tool watches, I could say. Now the EZM 10 represents a piece which is a little bit unlike other Sinn watches. You have a combination of this little bit of a retro look. It is part of the EZM collection. I'm not going to try to pronounce EZM, but it's their like more professional watches, and 10 just sort of means it's the one of the 10th one, the number 10. There's the EZM 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There might be 11 at this point, I'm not sure. This case is large. It's 44 millimeters, maybe a little bit more with the crown, in titanium, but not just any titanium. This has Sinn's own proprietary process called the tegimented titanium. So they have a hardening process where they harden steel as well as titanium, called tegimentation. Now what does that do? Well, this is sort of a satin finish here, and what it's supposed to do is harden the surface so it's more difficult to scratch. Why is that important for titanium? Well, it's because titanium, especially compared to steel, is very easy to scratch, and you can run your finger over it and you can feel that this does feel a lot harder. It's smoother. It just doesn't feel like normal titanium. I'm not sure how this process works exactly. Maybe it's like a forging process, but it works very, very nicely. And I haven't sort of put this to the test, but from what I hear, this watch is significantly more scratch resistant than most titanium watches, and it's damn comfortable too. It is a very long watch. When I put it on, you'll see, but it is quite light, and on the strap, this kind of pilot style strap, it's a little showy with this orange and this extra sort of like, you know, loop here on the strap, and it's got some padding, but this is a damn comfortable strap. The watch also comes, I believe, on rubber as well as a tegimented titanium bracelet. Now right here you see this little capsule here. This is part of the dehumidifying system that exists in some Sinn watches, and this little piece there actually turns a different color when there has been too much humidity in the case, and then you send it to Sinn and you get it swapped out. There's a bi-directional rotating bezel here that has a sapphire crystal overlay, which is nice. I like that as well. Bi-directional rotating bezels are not super common unless there's a GMT watch that has a 60-minute counter, but they do exist mainly in pilot-style watches. This is a pilot-style watch, even though it is water-resistant to 200 meters. This is, again, one of those kind of super watches that sort of does a lot. And I sort of, you know, this is like the G-Shock of mechanical watches. I think that's like an interesting way of putting it. There isn't like a specific purpose it has to be used for, but there's a lot of things you can do. I also like there, you can see those chronograph pushers that are actually integrated into the case as opposed to being sort of distinct pushers. That's another neat feature that of the EZM 10. So you can see on the wrist, on my wrist, it's a little bit big, and by big I mean the lugs sort of extend a little bit out. I mean, it's a tall watch. It's not the tallest watch in the world, and I would wear it gladly, but I would say this is probably the limit of what I can sort of put on my wrist. Inside the watch is basically heavily modified Swiss ETA 7750. I forget exactly what Sinn calls it, but they make a lot of modifications to it. And the first thing they do is just sort of completely rework the layout. So this isn't just your typical standard 3-register chronograph. It has a central minute hand, which is sort of inspired by the Lemania 5100 that some of Sinn's older watches would use. Just going to clean that off a little. By the way, the loom on this watch is fantastic. So I'll start the chronograph there, and you can see that there's another hand there. That is the central minute counter, and as you can see, that little sort of airplane sort of arrow at the top there is the same that you would see in a lot of the Lemania 5100s. So that's the chronograph seconds, chronograph minutes. Right here you have the chronograph hours, and it's in orange. This is a synchronized 24-hour hand, which essentially tells you AM, PM time. Here is your running minutes. Here is your date. This watch also features the Diapole system. So Diapole is basically a contraction of two words, diamond and palette, because in the movement they use, rather than rubies, they use diamonds as some of the palettes. And there's also I believe a diamond-coated, I think it's the escapement. This is sort of a pre-silicon type of thing that Sinn did, and the idea was to create a movement that did not need to be serviced as often, so it basically can go longer between servicing. Sinn's kind of ultimate goal is to have a watch that really never needs to be serviced. I think that's a lot of people's goals, and I think some people, once they're able to advance silicon technology a little bit better, might actually have a mechanical movement that you can commercialize that really never needs to be at all serviced. And that would be really, really cool. This little indicator here, I think that's the test staff sort of logo there, and that means that this watch has been passes muster under the test staff regulations as being a pilot watch. Which is something that certain Sinn pilot watches have, just so you know what that little thing is. So there's just a lot of stuff going on here. You have all these cool systems. You have this really neat sort of movement, which uses a lot of in-house made parts and technology. It's just an overall really cool guy watch. It's a sport watch. It's a pilot watch. You could probably do some light diving with this. You can just do a lot of neat things, and some of the ways this all came together with these, all these sort of non-traditional parts is just really, really cool. And I've just always really been into the Sinn EZM 10 a lot. I'm just going to go ahead and move the hands there so you can see the logo. I guess I'd have to do it all the way, but this is just, this is really high on my list. I just really love this watch. I sort of go back and forth about the orange. I think it's sometimes a little bit loud, but I think it's cool. I've worn this watch around, and people say good things about it. Everyone's pretty impressed by it. It's not a showy watch, and that's not really what Sinn is trying to do. They're not a company that's out there to make showy watches. I think they have a couple of gold watches, but those are quite rare. Most of their watches are very sober, sort of tool watches, and this extends a little bit more. This is not nearly as sober as some of their other watches, but it just has a lot of cool stuff to it, and I just think it's cool. So again, this is the Sinn EZM 10. The retail price is between about 3,950 to 4,250 euros. The U.S. retail price, last time I checked, on this leather strap is $5,670. And again, that range in price has to do with the fact that there are different straps available. And you can see the full review of the Sinn EZM 10 on aBlogtoWatch soon. Thanks.